How's it going, fam? Welcome back to Erica's EDC, and today we're doing an update on CPM 15V. I've been carrying it for the whole month of January so far. I have not touched the edge at all. So I want to do an update because everyone's been asking how it's doing. Should they buy it? Should they get on the next drop? I can't tell you what to do. All I can do is inform you and let you make the decision on your own. So let's go over some stuff that I've been doing with this, do a little update. This is, out the gate, one of the best production knives I've ever experienced. You guys know, over time, I have really decreased the amount of production companies that I support. I have exiled quite a few of them, and there are only a couple in my lineup, and Spyderco is probably at the top. The reason being, their heat treat is, in my opinion, the best. Production-wise, you know, on a scale that they pump these out at, their heat treat is the best, hands down, okay? Because they care, quite frankly. Doesn't matter what steel you get, they generally nail it, and 15V is no exception. This has been one of the best knives I've ever used in my life, actually. And I haven't even touched the edge. Hopefully you can see that is the factory edge that I'm working with, okay? Now, I've done some pretty intense tasks with this so far with the factory edge. I want to show you what it's standing at right now. That, guys, untouched for over 2 weeks. That's insane, okay? You can't, I mean, that's crazy with what I've been doing with it. The only thing that this has touched, other than your mom, in terms of sharpening apparatuses, would be the ceramic rod that I used as an example of a honing device in a video, and the only thing I did was I used this knife to kind of show how you would use a honing rod, and I passed this on the honing rod in the video maybe 3 times per side, something like that. Other than that, this knife has not touched a stone, a strop, a honing rod, a honing stone, a pair of blue jeans, nothing. So that level of sharpness after what I've done with this is unbelievable. Especially because we all know that factory edges from production companies, production settings, they can be burnt, fatigued, whatever you want to call it. Now, again, Spyderco, I feel like, does an okay job with the whole burnt edges thing. I definitely have had some burnt edges on Spydercos from the factory, but it's very hard to avoid, I think, in that setting. But this edge is extremely impressive, okay? So not only is this a production knife, but the factory edge is terrifying on it. And it has not obtained any damage at all. Now, it's not like I'm taking this and batoning with it and stuff, okay? But I do want to say that the deer leg video that I did with this, you know, I don't think that's a super normal task that people do with their knives, and it was hitting bone, and we didn't even roll, nothing. And one other task that I have done with this is process the dog treats. Now, I've said this before, I feed my dogs a raw food diet, which means that their treats are also like raw food treats. So I order a roll that it's 5 pounds, and you cut it all up into little pieces to feed them on the walks and stuff, but it's a whole food roll. So it has the bones, the organ, the meat, all of this stuff in it, and the bone is ground into a fine dust, but it's not powder. So when you're taking the knife to cut up the dog treats, it's almost like cutting through sandpaper. it's very gritty. It's very much a task that could microchip an edge, roll an edge, because there are little tiny bits of bone in it, okay? It's almost like sandy. So that is something I do with my pocket knife, because sometimes I'm sitting out here at the picnic table and I cut up their dog treats out here and do the training with them in the yard, stuff like that. Sometimes it's on the bed of the truck. So the fact that this knife has done some odd tasks that could deform an edge, and that's the edge after all of those tasks, and it's the factory edge, that is unbelievable. So this knife has just blown my mind so far. 15V is very cool. And to quickly kind of go back on the comparison to Maximate and Rex 121 that people were asking about, I already did that video and you can go watch it, but 15V is a little bit of an outlier in that lineup because 15V doesn't have any tungsten, okay? So that's what makes Maximate and Rex 121 unique in that 3 steel lineup, is the fact that Maximate and Rex 121 are special in part due to their tungsten addition in the steel matrix, okay? So the tungsten is what is, providing that extreme wear resistance, right? I mean, Pete from Cedric and Ada did a polished edge test with the 121 the other day, and I want to say it was like 2,400 cuts or something crazy like that. The tungsten is really what's bringing those steels up to a capable high hardness and superior wear resistance level, okay? But 15V does not have tungsten, so you can't really compare them because Maximate and Rex 121 have something that this doesn't. They all have vanadium, and 15V has 14.6% vanadium, so we have that ultra hard carbide forming complex within this at a very high volume. And that's, I think, what makes 15V special, right, is that crazy amount of high hardness carbide, right? That's what makes this special. So kind of the cool thing is that we don't have the tungsten, so you don't have some of the, I guess you could call them offsets that tungsten can bring into a matrix. It didn't affect me in my testing, but we all know people have had issues with both of those other steels due to the high hardness, due to the tricky sharpening, right? 15V shouldn't bring that to the table. 15V should be very easy to sharpen in theory, but it also cuts forever because of that vanadium content, okay? So 15V, I think, is going to be a little more friendly, I guess, for people, but they nailed this heat treat and they nailed everything about this. I am just blown away. I have had knives microchip, roll, all sorts of things doing the tasks that this has done, and it hasn't budged. So I can't even imagine how it's going to be when I put my edge on it. But the fact that it can cut through paper like that with the factory edge after, 2 weeks of extremely solid use, it's blowing my mind, okay? So like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm never going to tell people what they should buy and what they shouldn't buy. And all I can do, I guess, is inform you and give you my opinions and facts, and then you can go off and do what you want. A fact is that Spyderco does probably the best production heat treat, period. Their level of quality is nearly unmatched. And I'm talking about in the lineup of knives that Spyderco goes with, right? So like Benchmade is one of their ultimate competitors. I'm not talking about like mid-tech customs like Chris Reeve and Spartan and stuff, Les George, whatever. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about like Benchmade, Spyderco, and anything comparable at this price point, at that production level, at that mass production level. Spyderco is doing it the best, okay? It's just kind of how it is. They actually care about their knives. They care about the heat treat. They care about the steel, okay? And it is what it is. That's not my opinion. It's just kind of science here. So when you take a custom maker from the custom world and integrate him into a company that already has the highest standards, and then they make a knife together, it kind of just is a fact that it's incredible. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying there won't be lemons. There are with anything that you do in life, but I can tell you right now, this is a phenomenal steel, guys. Phenomenal. And like I said, I'm not doing like the usual tasks that people do. I use my pocket knife for nearly everything. I try to not abuse it per se, but I will absolutely push it to the limits to see what it can take. And it's part of me, you know? I'm carrying it all day, every day. It's what I reach for when I need to cut anything. End of story. So it has gone through a number of odd things, and it just has not failed. It has not rolled. It's still so crazy sharp. It's unbelievable. So I wouldn't say it's hype at this point. We're, you know, more than 2 weeks into the testing. I wouldn't say it's hype. I would say the excitement surrounding 15V is extremely justified. I'm beyond impressed with how Sean went about introducing the heat treat protocol to Spyderco and conducting it. This is something that I don't think anyone would be disappointed in, because I don't really know what you could negatively hit on this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's insane, guys. It really is. Highly impressed so far. So unless anything catastrophic happens, all I can do is say I think it's absolutely amazing, and you're just gonna have to make that decision on your own. And I've been getting a lot of DMs lately, and I mean a lot, being like, okay, well, if 15V is great, which one would you choose? Maximate, K390, or 15V, or Maximate, Rex 121, 15V, or K390, MagnaCut 15. I can't play that game because sometimes they're not super comparable. Like I said, just because 15V is a super steel, as is Maximate and Rex 121, the composition isn't super comparable sometimes, like when you have two knives that have tungsten and one that does not, because 15V is not 70 HRC like the other two, or even 68 HRC like the other two. Maximate, I think, is around like 68, and Rex 121 is very much like 70 HRC, right? This one's sweet spot, I think, is like 64.5, 65, that realm, right? So I can't take two steels that have a composition that this one doesn't and then say which one is best, because it doesn't really make any sense. Those high speed steels over here that were developed for intense extreme wear resistance, not for knives, can't always be compared to something that is a little more like knife friendly, realistically speaking, right? So they're all knives, they're all steel, but once you get down to composition, it does kind of matter, because that is the essence of the experience, right? And all I can say is that this, scientifically, composition wise, should be more user-friendly than the two with the tungsten, because the tungsten is what makes them incredible, but also throws them off in terms of the sharpening, and they will have less like toughness than this. So I can't really play the game of like which one's better, which one should I choose, do you like this or that better? I can't do that, because it just doesn't really make too much sense to me. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like asking what's better, a Ferrari or my Tacoma, and it's like, well, for what? They're both vehicles, they both drive, but like, better for what? What do you do in your everyday life and what do you need characteristic wise from your blade, from your composition. So beautiful execution from Spyderco. I am beyond impressed with this. This is a really incredible steel. Very user friendly, guys. Like I said, I mean, when you can process deer legs with this, comes out unscathed, not even a reflection on that apex. That's pretty cool, okay? And I know this is not a hunting knife. I don't recommend doing hunting tasks with the Para 3 lightweight. It's the only example of 15V that I have, and that's why I did that task with this knife. I understand. I have been hunting, fishing, farming, you name it, my whole life, guys. I very much know this is not a hunting knife, okay? I use fixed blades when I do those tasks. But I thought it was very neat to put this onto some bone, onto some hair, some dirt, some tendons, and just see what happens, right? I don't have the mule, so this is what we had to use, but I'm very much aware that that's not a task that I should be doing with a pocket knife, okay? But how are we gonna figure out what the steel does if we don't use it? So, that's my little update on 15V. Highly impressed so far. Just gorgeous, okay? Beautiful. Well done, Spyderco. Well done, Sean. This is one of the most impressive production knives I've ever used. And like I said, unless something drastic happens, I don't see my opinion changing. I only see it probably improving because I'm very excited to get this on the stones. I have some really exciting stones coming from Greg over at Deer Rock Knives. He's sending me a whole box of them. I think like 12 or something. So I'll be able to play around with this and see what it likes best. But that is my update for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. Spyderco did do the reveal. We have the Native coming out in 15V, the PM2 coming out in 15V. So if you haven't found your flavor of this steel yet, we have those to look forward to. Maybe you'll find a knife that you enjoy. The Native is probably my favorite design from Spyderco. I love the Sage. I love the Para 3 lightweight. I love the Delica. I love all of them. But the Native 5, I think, is probably my jam. So very excited to see them doing the Native 5 in 15B. I think that's it, guys. One more look at her. She's absolutely stunning. If you can get your hands on one of these, I highly recommend it so far. But if anything bad happens, don't blame me, okay? I will see you guys on the next video. Go use your shit. Learn how to sharpen your knives. I'll see you guys so soon. I love you so much, fam. Take care.